All right, hello there. My name is Kenneth McCord, and I host and produce a YouTube channel called the EV Revolution Show. This is my studio in my basement of my house where I film in. And one thing that I was doing late last year, I was looking to rig out my video camera because I got to the point where I could start to use more accessories, especially more battery life. I would go out on the field filming reviews and filming event shows and stuff and interviews, and find that even the extended Sony battery that I had would run out of juice while I was in the middle of a shoot. It's happened a couple of times. So instead of spending to get bigger just base batteries, I started to do some looking and investigating on YouTube, and of course came upon the camera rigging scene. And everybody, really the foundation for camera rigging is some sort of battery pack, external power to power multiple devices. So that got me thinking, I've got stuff lying around, I've got some pieces that I'd like to put on my camera full time. Why don't I look to rig it out? So what this video is, this is a video of I have a Sony PXW-Z90 video camera. And I have not seen any videos out there for anybody who was rigging this camera. Now, obviously, camera rigging is going to be, lower my seat here, camera rigging is going to be very similar across the board, because a lot of the pieces are interchangeable. Doesn't matter if you have this kind of camera, a mirrorless camera, a DSLR, a RED, you name it, a Sony FX3, FX30, a cinema camera, all this kind of stuff. The principles of rigging are the same. So I thought I'd put this video together, maybe help you out, especially folks that have the Sony camera that maybe didn't think about rigging that out because they didn't think it might have been, it might not be a viable camera to do so. Well, I'm here to prove you wrong. So one of the main reasons I wanted to rig it out as well, not only because of the power, but also because of the convenience of being able just to pull out a rig right out of my camera bag, put it on my tripod, turn it on and start shooting relatively quickly rather than having to assemble components. And you hear that a lot from people who are doing camera rigs and reviews on that. Now, I will say I'm not a professional photographer. I'm not a professional videographer. I do this YouTube channel as a side hobby, basically, or more of a passion project for me to help spur EV adoption by educating and awareness. That's what I do. It's not a full-time job for me. I don't make, I'm not making a living on my YouTube channel at all, I can tell you that. I put a lot of time and effort into it, but I have a real full-time job that keeps me busy that has nothing to do with filming or the YouTube industry or the auto industry or anything. It's something totally different. So this is more of a passion for me, and I've been filming now, creating on my content for about 4 years, and I figured, okay, it's probably about time maybe I up my game a little bit so I can try to get a bit more creative, try to have some better tools for the trade and do better quality videos and get better content as well as I'm out there doing what I do. So let me get right to the heart of this video, and I don't have these taken apart and laid out for you and then put them together. This isn't that kind of video. I'm just kind of point out what I've done, and then I'm going to list all the items in the show notes in the description so that you can go and see the items that I've got. And again, most of these items are interchangeable, that they can be used on other cameras and other camera rigs. Now, first people talk about is a cage. Now, in this particular instance with the Sony, if there is a cage available for it, I couldn't find it. And actually, there's not one needed because the Sony Z90 comes with a carry handle already that you can attach and detach. And that carry handle comes with 2 XLR inputs over here. I can flip that around. You've got your 2 XLR inputs over here, and they're they're connected to the camera when you screw it in through a hot shoe, and then you can control the audio there. There's also a space here for a boom mic if you want to put an external microphone, XLR or other, on here. So that handle is really nice because it's one less piece that I have to buy. You hear a lot of guys bringing their cameras talking about top handles and stuff. So I didn't need a cage or I didn't need a top handle for this because of the type of camera, video camera that this is. It already comes with a nice top handle. So where all rigs need to start, obviously, is on the base, and they all have to do with rail systems, right? That's kind of the common factor here. And you can see here on this camera that I have rails. I'll put different angles here, and I'm sorry if I can't enlarge or do anything like that, but there's your standard rail system here, okay? And these are SMALLRIG. This is an 8-inch setup of 15mm reels. Rails, excuse me. I got just the black aluminum, but that comes in carbon fiber, it comes in silver aluminum, You can find them in different colors. I just went for the least expensive and gave some idea of measurement of how long I wanted my rails to be, where I wanted my battery to position, and then how far forward that I wanted my rails to be. So that's one of the first pieces of equipment that I purchased, along with the SMALLRIG camera base plate with the rod rail clamp. And again, I'm going to put all these product descriptions in the show notes, so you don't have to go jotting this down. And it's basically hard to find because it's buried under here, but it's this piece down here, right here, that the rails clamp into this piece, and it's a base plate. Now, what I've done is, because I make 98% of the time I shoot on tripod for my videos. So I need a really good tripod, and I have a Benro BV10, a pretty heavy duty, much more heavy duty than this rig is. It weighs out at about 8.5 pounds or so. So it's capable of much higher, but I just wanted a really solid one time, it's going to last me a lifetime tripod. So I got the Benro BV10. But the rail system, and because of that, one thing you can do is you can balance these cameras on a tripod. This is a fluid head tripod that has controlled drag settings and tilt and pan settings as well, and counterbalance settings, so that I could put a nice easy counterbalance on it. And you can see that I can pretty well balance this with that finger. That's around where the balance point is, right about here underneath this transmitter. So again, because of that, I wanted to make sure that I had a base plate that gave me the flexibility to move it along the tripod, that I could balance this camera on the tripod, because this is a long setup. And the base plates that come with it, you know, your standard 3 or 4 inches was not enough. So I did go out and buy just an Amazon base plate here. This is a Manfrotto style base plate, as you can see, this long thing. And the reason that's here is because it goes on my tripod and it lets me balance it, because it's got lots of room to slide up and down the tripod, and I could find a balance point and balance it. With the shorter ones, I couldn't quite get exactly the balance. So that's really the bottom of this. I have my Manfrotto plate, so I can put this on a tripod and then slide it out and take it out of my tripod. Then I have the SMALLRIG base plate, which is screwed into the underside of the Sony camera. One of the things about the Sony camera is there's only one hole for a screw, but there is another hole above that that's just empty. So what I did is I found just a really short metal screw, a threaded screw, not a nut or a bolt, not a bolt, but actually a threaded screw that I could just kind of put into that empty hole. So it just bites enough to put a little bit of force into it. And that way it adds a second mounting point, or a second screw point, so that this whole thing doesn't swivel on just one screw. It's kind of hard to do when your camera only has one thread hole in it, but because it has this empty kind of hole ahead of it, a half drilled hole that's empty, I was able to find a threaded screw to put into it to add a little bit of resistance, so I don't get this swiveling here, and tighten it down without over tightening it, without breaking anything. So that's how I've mounted all that. Then I have my rail system, and then on the rail I have a few different components. We'll start with the back. So I got a SMALLRIG V-mount camera setup. Oh, by the way, on the rails I also got the M12 rod end protectors. I just don't like open holes here, and then also it'll prevent something from sliding off accidentally if you loosen something and forget about it. These things are end protectors. They just screw into the rails. And then of course your rail block, there's various elements of the rail blocks here, and that's what I have going on here. I have a rail block with the V-mount battery mounted onto it. Now the V-mount battery is a SMALLRIG setup as well, but it's a really good V-mount battery mount. Obviously you can turn on the power, but that has different outputs, including 8 volt, a D-tap, 2 D-taps, and a 12 volt as well. So no USB or anything, but there's the SMALLRIG, so it is a SMALLRIG, and I'll put that item in the description again, and then with the quick release for the V-mounts, which are here, right? You can just quick release your V-mounts like that. So it's a nice V-mount bracket. As you can see, it has your standard power connectors, and then the V-mount battery slide in. Any standard V-mount battery will work. Doesn't have to be a certain brand, but SMALLRIG or other, but it will work. So that's nice. And again, you have your D-tap, 12 volt, and you can look all this stuff online, another D-tap and another 8 volt. Now my camera is using the 8 volt, which is great. Actually, camera's not using the 8-volt, the monitor's using the 8-volt, sorry. So just make sure you look at the voltage of your cameras and accessories to make sure you have the right ports for that. And there's lots of these V-mount base plates out there. Some are powered and some are non-powered, so it's up to you. Sometimes the batteries have enough ports on them and connectors that you don't need a fancy base plate, V-mount plate like this. I just chose to get the SMALLRIG since I was on a SMALLRIG buying spree, and everything went nice. So it just locks down like that and locks in. So I've got my battery pushed almost to the back, right close to the eyepiece, because I don't use the eyepiece. I use the monitor or the well, I was using just the screen that comes with it, the fold-out screen from the Sony, but now that I've got this rig, I'm able to attach my monitor full-time. We'll get to that in a sec. So this V-mount battery powers the entire system. You can again get different V-mount batteries that have different connectors. This one happens to be the ZG Cine, excuse me, batteries, which I love. I've only started using them. They're from China and they're a newer brand. They've got a nice, I'm not doing a review on it, but they've got a nice LED to show you the power consumption. The key thing about this is that it does power delivery in and power delivery out. So you can use any standard USB-C power, to anything that charges your phone or charges your laptop or whatever, to charge up these batteries. And that was critical. I didn't want to have to buy a big bulky adapter with a plug in it. I could use existing adapters that I have for my laptops and my and phones and stuff, so I could use that to charge this up. So what I ended up doing is I got 3 batteries of the ZG Cine lineup. You don't have to do this, it's up to yourself. So this one here is the biggest. It's the V160, showing V160 watt hour battery, so it's quite a large battery. I have not drained this. I was out filming the other day for a couple of hours and I got down to about 80% or so, so I think this will be all day shooting for me if I need to. But also in my kit bag I have the 99 and I have the 50 versions of this same battery. They're a little bit different because some of them come with a little bit different ports on them. But they're all the same brand and they're all the same style. And the reason I got multiple batteries is because if I travel on the airlines, they won't accept anything over 100 watt hours. So that's why you see a lot of 99, 98s and below, type batteries out there, V-mount batteries, because of that restriction. So what that means is that when I go away to travel, I can take a 50 and a 99 with me, which is about 150, right? So that should get me for 1 day shooting easy between 2 batteries. Keep them both charged and then plop one in, and then when I'm ready to plop the other one in, and I can keep going. So that's the main reason that I got those ones, those 3, especially the 2 for traveling, and then this one's my primary when I'm shooting out of home in the city, and I'm not traveling by plane out of the city, then this is the one that I'll use. So V-mount batteries, tons of them out there. Do research, get whatever you want. These are very price competitive. That's why I got them. You can get them from AliExpress. You can get them from Amazon. Sometimes they go on sale, so search around. But do your due diligence and whatever you want from a battery pack. But that's why you see those sizes. And I recommend if you going to do any traveling with your video equipment or with your camera gear abroad, on a plane specifically, be aware that the airlines don't let you carry anything over 100 watt hours. So you need to be respectful of that. So that's why I got that. So continuing on the rig, I've got that of course on the mount on the rails. Camera's already on the rails. And then at the end of it, I kind of thought about a matte box. I saw a lot of videos about matte boxes and decided to bite the bullet and get one. I have come across lens flare and stuff like that before in my shooting, so I thought that this might help alleviate some of that overlighting issues that sometimes videographers and camera people that you see. So I ended up getting the Tilta mini matte box. Again, it's their cheapest one, similar to the SMALLRIG mini matte box, very similar. The difference is this doesn't mount with a rail mount. It does have a adapter to it that will let you mount it to one rail, but on my configuration I couldn't use that properly. So it does come with rings, of course, that you could screw into your lens, excuse me, and then adapter rings, and then tighten this around this, which is the method that I used. So this particular camera, This Sony has a 62mm lens on it, just a fixed lens that comes with it. So that doesn't come in the tilter kit. They do make an adapter, so I had to go and get that separately for a few dollars, but I was able to get it on sale, so I was able to get it real cheap. But that's basically the matte box. It's a little awkward sometimes to open it just because it's a tight fit underneath the XLR mount, but as you can see, it opens up, and then I can just lock it down here, lock the top flag, and then have everything going. And I do have the ability to slide ND filters in if I want to. I haven't seen the need for it. One thing about the Sony camera is it has 3 different NDs built in, which comes in quite handy. So I don't see myself needing filters, but you know, that option is there if I ever decide that I need to. So from back to front, that's kind of how it's set up. I have the matte box here, and it all fits in really nicely, nice and compact, and just close that down. Also helps to protect the lens, but mind you, I'm still old-fashioned. I still have a lens cap on here underneath anyway, and I have it on a string that's connected to the matte box here, so that I can take the lens off and it won't go. I'll always be able to find the lens cap because I kept losing lens caps. So just have a string here and glue it onto the lens cap, and then you'll never lose it. I haven't lost it in 4 years now. So that works. So that's kind of what I have set up. Continuing on to the top of the camera, now that I had a monitor that I use for shooting inside here when I do my studio stuff, but I was never using it outside because it was kind of bulky to clip it to either to the tripod or lug it around, you know, just to use the hot shoe here. And again, powering, I didn't want to put an external battery, another external battery, and then that thing would die, only run for 30 minutes or so. So it was kind of hard to use it externally for me outside. But now with this single power supply, I can power the monitor. And this is a DeskView monitor, a 7-inch 7RS, I believe, monitor. And I didn't need anything fancy. I don't need any to record on this monitor. I don't need the Ninja, you know, the Atmos Ninja, as you see, and some of the other ones that are out there. You can do whatever you want. I just wanted a monitor that was bright enough to see in the sunlight in the daytime. And this is 1000 nit, and that's basically what I need. Anything that's 1000 or higher is enough for you to see in the daylight. So be careful if you're searching for external monitors, and that's important. It does have this bit of a shield here, and then I have another shield that clamps on that I can get even more shade onto this to shield it a bit. I keep that in my camera bag. But this seems to be adequate enough with this rubber piece that comes with it, that kind of like a silicone protector case that has a bit of a cover on it. So that works fine. But again, the main thing, I didn't want to have another battery pack, didn't want to have to deal with multiple battery packs here. One battery powers everything, and it powers it for a long time. So that works great. Bought the SMALLRIG adapter here. This is a hot shoe adapter. And there's multiple kinds that SMALLRIG sell. This just goes actually into, I believe it's the cold shoe one on this Sony one. And that way it gives me the ability to turn the monitor and also to tilt the monitor. So when I actually put it in my bag, I tilt the monitor down and I put it in like that, so that I have, you know, can close the bag up. One thing I like about this is that because I'm a one-man band, when I do my video shooting, I don't have a crew, I don't have anybody helping me. I have the ability to turn this around to face myself, so when I'm talking on camera, I can make sure that I'm in frame and I can see the shot even before I start recording, get a better visualize, and if I'm walking in and out of a shot, I can see it on the monitor here. So that helps because it is bright enough to see from a good distance as well, and in daytime. So that gives me the ability to turn it around without loosening and then back. So if I'm doing, if I'm just recording from behind, as you know, doing an event or something. So I have that. So the one other element I have for sound is I'm using the Rode Wireless Go 2 system. You can use anything. A good thing is that this just clips on to the hot shoe, another cold shoe mount here on the handle. The Sony has 2, which is really handy. And then just using the TRS 3.5, I can go into the camera and I'm getting live sound in. So I always record with this sound. Once in a while, I'll use an XLR mic because I do have a mic and a wire, XLR wire. Always good to have a backup, folks. In fact, I have this mic that I'm wearing here with my iPhone that I keep in there as well. So always have a backup to a backup, because you never know if something goes. Then you need to record audio, and some people use Zoom as well. I have an H6, but I just didn't want to have the trouble of recording audio on one system and then mixing it together in post. I see the value in that, but again, my videos, as long as I have a good wireless mic or a good wired mic, never really had any problem with audio, and I can tune it up or down a little bit in post in editing. So this system works well. It's very small and compact, and of course the Rode is a really good system for connectivity and for clarity of signal. And there's some settings, and this isn't a review on that. I'm just showing you what I have. So I have that, and then I can, you know, put my my lav clips on, and off I go to the races to record. But it sits here nice on the frame. Now the last thing is going to be what people will say is cable management, and this isn't the best. This works for me. Again, everybody's going to be a bit different, but finding cables. So the camera itself is also powered from the V-mount battery, so that's key. So I didn't have to worry about buying other batteries. I'm using what's called the dummy battery, and you can find these online. I was able to find one. It's really hard to find them for these particular Sony cameras, but B&H in the States has them, and that's where I ordered this one from. So it's a dummy battery for this Sony. Make sure you write down what battery it needs and get the right one, and ask them if you're not sure. They can check on the camera. But it fits this camera. It just snaps in, and then it plugs into, I believe it's D-tap on this one. So I have the D-tap running to the video camera. I have to check now because I have so many cables to the camera. So that powers the camera. The camera just will draw the juice it needs. The D-tap will deliver it. The other thing that I have powered is my monitor, of course, the Best View monitor, as I mentioned. And it's using a cable that I got. It happens to be a coil cable. The power cable into the side of the camera here, side of the monitor here. And then the other cable, of course, is your HDMI cable, because I'm going HDMI out to the monitor. So I have this coiled HDMI cable that goes nicely into the back of the Sony here, behind the camera. And one thing I wanted was a right angle. So as you can see, possibly on this, that the HDMI doesn't come straight out, but it's a right angle. You can get right angled, left angled, straight out. There's all kinds of different configurations you can get. I just went online and searched knowing what I needed in my particular setup. So that way I just put less strain on the cable. If it was bent like this, over time it might just pull strain and might start pulling this out. This keeps it nice and clean and tucked in and puts no strain on the HDMI port of the monitor as well. So I've got my power, I've got my HDMI out, and then I just use various ties that I purchased. They're almost like rubber bands that you see, these green things here, just to kind of clamp the cables together, tie them together so that they've got flexibility to move and to stretch where they need to, but they still keeps everything compact. So that, again, the purpose is I can take this thing and I can just drop it into my camera bag, close up my camera bag, and then when I'm ready to shoot, I just pull it out, put it on the tripod, open it up, and off I go. Very, very, very convenient. So this is a little longer video than I wanted to do, but I thought it'd be important for people that might have these kinds of cameras and hadn't thought about rigging them out. That, again, rig systems are designed for you to pretty well put them on any camera that's out there, even smaller DSLR, older ones. There's going to be a rig kit, whether you need a cage or you just start from a base and work your way around that. There's other things that you can do, lots of different components. And SMALLRIG is one company. Again, I'm not getting paid by them. I know they didn't send me anything for free here. I'm just saying that they have a lot of availability in parts and components, especially for camera rigging, that come in nice and handy articulating arms as well, that you can add to these, either clamp or Rosetta style, that you can put on there. There's lots of different things that you can do depending on your setup. So I encourage you to check that out. But hopefully this gives you some ideas for those folks that may have this kind of a video camera. But beyond that, these kind of video cameras, which are a little bit different, and nobody's really talking about them. This is a great camera, by the way, but the basis for rigging is the same, starting with a base plate with rails, some sort of mount plate to a tripod system if you choose, a quick release. There's different types of those. Some sort of central power mechanism, typically V-mount. There's the gold mount, I think, is the other one, but I just chose V-mount. It seemed to be simpler and more readily available and less expensive than the other type of battery system for my needs, right, for my compact shooting needs. Again, matte box, if you think you need one. Again, something you don't have to get. Yeah, it looks cool a lot, and all videographers and people that have cameras will say, hey, it looks cool, makes you look more professional. Sure, but I got it because there is a method to the madness, and there is a use case for a matte box, even if you use filters or don't use filters, and that's the other component. You can use filters. So I hope this information is helpful. Again, I'm going to put all my parts at whatever I kept track of onto my show notes and list there, and then hopefully that'll help you. If you have any questions, you can email me. My email information will be in the notes as well. And again, you know, this has been an experience. It took me a couple of months to build this out, finding parts, ordering them from Amazon and other spots to be able to build this kit part by part and get exactly it the way I needed to, doing research, watching other videos. I think all the other tons of videos that are out there for guys that have built rigs and that have, you know, again, the ideas are all transferable to other mechanisms and other types of equipment. So good on them. If you have any, just wanted to continue on the last part of this video just to show you my camera mount system. So I'm not going to show you the tripod. It's a Benro BV10, as I mentioned. You can search on that, look for it. But again, having the ability just to quickly mount this, slide it onto the tripod, and then tighten it down, and it's ready to go. You know, be nice and balanced, so that I can shoot with it and do different things. Right, that's the key to these kind of fluid mount systems. That they're nice and balanced, and that you can do lots of nice easy work, pans, tilts, all that kind of stuff with it. So that's the beauty of it. And again, having the ability to just quickly slap it on there, loosen it, lower it out, and off it comes from that perspective. So now I'll show you how it looks like putting it into the bag. All right, so here's my bag. This is a Tenba Cineluxe 24. I originally had the 21, and it was just slightly tight to close with all the stuff that I have. So I went to go get the 21 high top, and then the 24 was on sale at the same price as the high top, so I just grabbed that. And that just gave me much more room, so I've got lots of future growth on here. So let me show you how this thing goes in, as I mentioned. So go out here. So again, it just kind of drops in forward because I have that big long bracket, and as you can see, it just plops right in. There's a strap mechanism that I can tie it down with. I'll tie it over the handle, lock it down so it doesn't flop around, and then that's basically it. As you can see, it's in there, so when I'm ready to shoot, I just lift that up and pull this straight out, and it's ready to go. Now, one thing I love about this bag is I've got lots of room for other things. I've got another mic, I've got some mount kits, I've got an LED light, I've got a couple of GoPros in here with car mounts because I do car videos. Headphones with another with a remote for the camera set up there. I've got a DJI gimbal for my iPhone, so when I do some shots, I don't want them shaky. Then here I have two more batteries, so I have the 50 and the 99 battery tucked away in there as well. And then lots of side pockets for all kinds of other stuff in here. I'm not going to go through it all, but I've got external mics, I've got business cards, I've got cables, all that kind of stuff. So this is just a great bag, and then again, it just closes down like that. It's a doctor style bag, as they call it, and zips down nice and easy. Now, one thing I've done on here is I put it on this dolly. As you can see here, I have this dolly. I just got it from Amazon, just this plastic dolly that has an extendable handle here that extends out so that I can close it up. I can pick the whole thing up, put it in my car, and then when I'm ready to go to a shoot, I do have a shoulder strap, so I can carry it if I want to, but these things are a little ungainly when you carry them, so I love having this little plastic dolly here, and it goes through. There's a couple of luggage straps underneath there that you can slide that through, and it holds on to the bag, and I just wheel the bag around. And again, this is strapped down, everything's on here, nothing goes rattling around. Once the lid is closed, you've got these nice pads that just close down on everything and just keep everything nice and secure. These Tenba bags are great. Just absolutely love it. Taking it out on a couple shoots already. So fantastic. So anyway, that's the part of the beauty of having a rigged out camera system, is that you can do that. You can just open your bag, take the camera out, and you're ready to rock and roll and film. So gotta love that. Good on them. If you have any questions on my gear or my setup or about this, please email me, and thanks for watching, and take care.